Okay, so this is lesson interactivity 9.3. Let's do some 180s, okay? The diagram shows a line with points A, B, C, D, and B, On the diagram, draw the image of the line in the points A, C, and B after the line has been rotated 180 degrees around point D. So this is the line, this is A, C, D, and B. So as usual, I traced it on my paper, on my tracing paper. I put the points on. And let me just line it back up the way I had it. And it said to rotate 180 degrees around center D. So this would be D. And remember, it doesn't really matter which direction I go. They're going to wind up in the same place again. So that's why it doesn't give us the direction. But so that would be 90. And this would be 180. Okay. Then it said to label our points after we're done here. So let's label our points. So I'm just going to push down a little bit there. I'm just going to lift up my paper a little bit, and I'm going to put my point there. And I'm going to say that's B prime. Okay, then right here will be C prime. And this one would be A prime. Okay. All right. Let's see, what else? Does anything else it says? Oh, we already did this. We labeled the images A prime, B prime, and C prime. Okay. What order is all 7 points? Explain or show your reasoning. Looks like we showed it. See, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, your points would be A, C, B prime, D prime, D, B, then C prime, then A prime, okay? The only thing it did was it took your points and it just turned them in the other direction. Okay, so for number 2, the diagram shows a line with points A and C and a line segment AD right here where D is not on the line here, okay? It said rotate the figure 180 degrees about point C and label the image of A as A prime and the image of D as D prime. So once again, all you had to do is trace it on tracing paper. Line it back up to where it was, the original. And it says to rotate it 180 degrees around point C. Okay, so we're going to go 180 degrees. Put my pencil here around point C, and that would be 90. And this would be 180. So then I'm going to push down some, try to get my points to show up. Push down a little bit. Oh, lead. Push hard on this, trying to make it go through. Oh, broke that one. So let me grab this other pencil here. Try that some more so it'll show up good. And this is my A. I'm just trying to push down hard so it'll show up. And I can see it, so I'm going to color it in. There's my, now I'm going to get my ruler. And I'm going to draw my line there. Okay. And I think it told us to label it too. It said to label it, so that would have been, this would have been A prime. And D prime. Okay. All right, then let me see. What do you notice about the relationship between CAD, angle C, remember the vertex is always in the middle when we call an angle, so it would be angle CAD. We're talking about this angle right here, and the image of angle CAD, which would be right here. If we looked at it, if you looked at our original, we put this on here, go over here, put this on here, you should see that they're both the same size. Yep, they're both exactly the same size. So remember, during rigid transformations, the size of the angle will not change. So the angles are the same size. So we notice that the angles are the same size. Or, if you remember from last year, we could say they were congruent. Remember, same shape and same size would be congruent. All right. Then I think we have another one to go. Okay, so number 3, it says the diagram shows two lines, L and M, that intersect at point O with A on L and D on M. So I have to turn mine over, so you have to turn your page in your book too. So let me see what it says up here. It says for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rotate the figure 180 degrees around O and label the image of A as A prime and the image of D as D prime. So let me move it up a little bit now so you can see better. Get it on there. Okay. Then I traced my figure already, so I'm just going to line it back up. And it says to go 180 degrees. So we know that that's going to be, we're going to move it exactly 2 sides here. So there we go. Right there. Oh, almost. There we go. So now, all I'm going to do is push down with my pencil so I can get my points to show up better. My A and my D, because that's the ones we need to label. Push down hard. Let me see if it came through all right. Yeah, I can see that. So this one should be D prime. And this one over here, yeah, there it is, should be A prime. So that's what it should have looked like. Okay. So, what do you notice about the relationship between the angles in the figures? Explain your reasoning. Well, if you looked at these two angles here, these two angles, if you look at it, if you turn this around, you will see that they're still exactly the same size. And do you remember what kind of angles these are called? These are called vertical angles. If we know that all vertical angles, they're opposite of each other, and they measure the same. So in other words, whatever size angle this one is and that one is. And look, if you look this direction, you have this angle here, and this angle here is also vertical angles. They measure the same size, okay? And this, if I drew it real nice and neat, that would make a perfect circle there. But look what happens when I rotate this one around here to this other big one. See this, if I do DOA and AOM, or D now, if I rotate that, it will also be the same size. So that proves the little vertical angle theorem that all angles opposite of each other that share a common point are equal to each other. Or another name for equal is also congruent. So remember, vertical angles are the angles opposite of each other. I always kind of call them the bow tie angles, because if you kind of look like this, it looks like a bow tie. So vertical angles are opposite from each other, and because they're opposite from each other, they always have the same size angle. Okay, that's another takeaway for today's lesson.